Empty formation on first and long. Here's Lowe to throw, looking.
Got him.
And
what
a great
a catch
by Cade Collier. My goodness. And he's got a first down. You've got to be kidding me. Cade Collier caught it with one hand. It was a fastball. All right, welcome back to another edition of the pod, powered by the Southeastern Sports Network. It's the playoff bracket unveiling edition, and I've got Alan Waddell on. Robbie Rhodes is on a vacation with the family, so got Mr. Waddell with me. And Alan, last night we were sitting here about this time, talking about where we're going to be in, where we're going to host, who else is going to get in, how is the bracket going to fall. We're still kind of waiting on that Tarleton Austin P game. That finished up with Tarleton winning out, but bracket unveiled this morning, and I got to tell you, you nailed a lot of it. I think you were right on top of it with Southeastern getting a 16 seed. Harvard did not get a seed. We thought that was, as a matter of fact, that showed up right away. As soon as we saw the SFA did get a seed. I thought they might had an outside chance, but we'll talk about the committee here in a minute. But let's just talk about how things played out in your mind, and Southeastern got a chance to host.
I'll say this: I think the committee got a lot of it right, and I think the committee did a really good job as far as taking who they thought were the best teams and put them where they belonged. I do think, I was really dialed into that McNeese Lamar game. And
Played a big role.
I think that 100% got us a home game, because I think if Lamar wins that game, they're going to play at home. And maybe we're over there playing Abilene.
I agree.
We might have flip-flopped in that situation. But, look, great to get a home game. Really excited about it. I think it also, we talked about Monmouth kind of a lot yesterday. They were 9-2, but they got beat bad by a 1-10 Albany team. And, I think sometimes the committee doesn't look at how you're playing. I'll say this. I think as human beings, it's easier to look at how they just played than look at the whole body of work. And in that case, I think they got it right as, hey, this is how they're going into the playoffs. But then as far as Lamar goes, they played a very competitive game at home, a rivalry game that they came up just short in. But then you look at their whole body of work, and man, they had a really good year. They had some good wins. So I think that the committee did a good job putting the best teams in the field.
Well, also think in Lamar's case, now let's face it, we've talked about this. Southeastern schedule and Lamar's schedule were backloaded. So you had to play
absolutely
the toughest competition back to back to back to close out the season, and close out the season with your natural rival, Nicholls State, Lamar with McNeese. It really was not now I'm not saying it was done on purpose, but UIW had every tough game at home this year. SFA had the schedule spread out. Southeastern Lamar had to play the toughest competition back to back to back to close the season. Southeastern fortunate to go 2-1. With two of those games on the road, Lamar lost 2 of 3. Of course, they beat us by 2, but it's good to see the committee did not penalize Lamar for that, and they were able to get in 8-3. They earned their way in. Had the big win over South Dakota, who's out of the Missouri Valley, an opponent of who we're going to talk about here in a moment, or a conference mate of Southeastern's opponent coming up, Illinois State. We'll talk about, but then beat Southeastern and won 8 games, so they deserve to get in. 3 teams from the Southland are in. SFA got the 7 seed. I don't think we're coming. I didn't see 7, but I felt like they earned the 8. Especially.
Well, I'll tell you, the only thing about SFA that really just sticks in my craw is if we just beat Lamar, we have a better resume than SFA, because we're going to have 10 D1 wins. They would only have 9, and we'd be sitting there in a bye.
It would have been easily as good, because
and it's just frustrating. It's just, look, we're getting to play a home game. We're glad to be back in the playoffs, but that game's going to always kind of stick in our craw of what could have happened, if we'd have won that game and got a 2-point conversion, went down the field maybe and scored at the end. But, hey, it is what it is. That's the way the season played out. You got to give them credit. Mark, how would you feel if you're Austin P? The guy's wide open for the 2-point conversion to end the game. If they catch it, they're in, and they're probably playing at home.
Yeah.
Instead, they're out.
Yeah, that was really a matter of 2 feet. Again, they played their guts out. We watched that game, watched it while we were doing the pod, and it's just amazing how something that fine of a line can dictate whether they sit at home or are still playing. But
what was your thoughts on Tennessee Tech?
You know what? I thought you talked about the committee. I thought the committee did a great job because I think we sat here last night saying we didn't feel like they were a top 8 seed, even though they won 11 games. We didn't think they were that quality of a football program, and the committee saw the same thing. They looked at it and said, look, their wins weren't that impressive. Now, I do believe you got to reward teams for winning. I think that's very important. So I kind of come from both sides of it. But when you looked at it, SFA is probably a better football team than Tennessee Tech. I think if they switch schedules, go ahead. And
they looked really good down the stretch. Yeah, they just looked good in these games. They were impressive. They were dominant. Yeah, no, I think you got to give them credit for that. I mean, I think it's tough to go 11-1 though, and your only loss is to an FBS SEC school, and you don't get a seed. But I'll tell you another thing. I think the committee told us this year, which we all last year sat there and were very disappointed in. I think this year they said, "Hey, the CAA's got to do something because they've watered their league down." They had a couple of teams that that might had a chance to be an outside shot to be a top 8. Neither one of those got that spot. They were kind of down in the rankings. I think they're sending a message to the CAA that they got to start scheduling their teams to play each other because it's a watered down league and they don't want to play each other.
Yeah, and Big Sky, same thing. I mean, you saw that with, of course, Northern Arizona lost yesterday and they didn't get in, but Sacramento State as well. But you got those super conferences that basically have teams that can sit there probably somewhere in the middle, but case in point, Monmouth, they really don't play anybody in that league. They just kind of missed all the good teams and end up racking up 9 wins. Of course, their quarterback got hurt.
And I know we're going to talk about Illinois State here in just a bit, but I think that's one of the reasons too. You look at the Super Conference, Missouri Valley got 6 teams in. A lot of those teams are seeds in the top 16. So Illinois State had to go somewhere, and they were going to go somewhere that was not a Missouri Valley school. I think that's why they made the most sense to send them here.
Well, and it's something we didn't talk about last night, and I thought about it after we got off the pod because I had heard this and I'd forgotten about it. They bid out their stadium for the high school football playoffs in Illinois. Next week is a big weekend, and for their state championships or whatever. So they were going on the road regardless. It didn't matter if they could be the number 1 seed. They were going to play that first week, or if they didn't have to play if they didn't get a bye, they were going to play that Thanksgiving weekend on the road. So that was automatically the case. And traditionally, when they've been sent out, it's been to the Southland Conference. So it made sense they were going to come to either Southeastern or Lamar, whoever got the 16 seed, and happened to be Southeastern. So that was kind of a inkling I had last night late when I was thinking about it, and it turned out that was the case. But they're a good football team. They're 8-4. They beat both South Dakota and South Dakota State on the road, and they are 5-0. That's one of the things we're going to talk about real quick. Is they're 5-0 on the road against the FCS. Matter of fact, their losses are at home, which is kind of weird. They lost to Southern Illinois yesterday at 37-7 at home. Lost to Youngstown State at home. North Dakota State. So, they're a good road team. They've been a good road team in the playoffs and also this year. So they're used to it. And I don't think it's a big deal for them to not have a home game.
No, and someone's got to give it this matchup because they're coming to Strawberry Stadium where Southeastern's undefeated. So you have a team that's undefeated on the road against the FCS, and then a team in Southeastern that's undefeated at home in the FCS. And I think that, right here for our fans watching this, I think the best first-round matchups can happen right here in Hammond. I think a lot of the eyes are going to be the FCS football, and I think the committee did a good job with that because if we're 16, then theoretically you get 17. And that's kind of what happened here as Illinois State's going to come down here, a very good football team. And I know Coach Selfo's going to be fired up about this one because, he's all about building our brand and getting more notoriety around the country. You think back to that spring game where we went up there and played Southern Illinois. That's really kind of the game that won Cole Kelly, the Walter Payton that year. I know he's going to be fired up to be able to play a Missouri Valley team at home and get them at home. Because that's one of those things like, hey, we want those guys to come down here and play us down here. So I know he's going to be fired up about that with an opportunity to move on. And, I've had a lot of people ask me today, Mark, oh, man, do you think that, this bracket is better for us because we're at home, but then if we win, we got to go play Northern Kansas State. Yes, it's 100% better. You want to play home football games in the playoffs. It is so hard to win on the road. You have a significant advantage of getting an opportunity to play at home.
No, this is exactly the bracket you want. And again, I know it's counterproductive or counterintuitive to you look at it and they're the Bison and you're playing potentially two Missouri Valley teams right out of the stretch, the toughest conference in the country. But that's exactly what you want. That's what Frank Selfo wants. That's how you build an identity as a program. You got to play them. And if you never get a chance to play them or you can't schedule them in a regular season, you want to do it in the playoffs. So you get a home game. Now, it's not going to be easy. We talked about Illinois State's ability to win on the road, but we've had a chance to dive into them a little bit. We'll take a little bit deeper look in a couple.
Mark, you also want to play those teams when you have one of your good teams,
right?
And I know Coach Selfo really likes this team. It's a senior-laden football team. 24 seniors are going to be playing at Strawberry Stadium, so I feel like it's one of those. Hey, let's give those teams a shot with our best shot, and we're going to get them at home. We're going to play Illinois State, and then hey, if you're fortunate to win that game, we'll pack our bags. We'll go up and play inside of the Fargo Dome and get our shot at the Bison.
And this team is similar to the Villanova team that came in here a few years ago. They're a little bit similar to Idaho. It's kind of right in there, right in that area. So those were tough matchups at Southeastern. Fortunate enough to win at home and shootouts, but there were also Southeastern teams that were a little bit depleted on defense at the time they played, and that's why they were both shootouts. This is a little bit different. Southeastern teams more defensive oriented, so you feel a little bit better about taking on some high-powered offenses, which Illinois State is. I don't know if they're from a statistical standpoint like those Villanova and Idaho teams, but within the structure,
they score a lot of points.
But they score a lot of points within them. You got to realize they're in the Missouri Valley now. That's a kind of a blue-collar, traditionally smash-mouth league that they shorten the game, don't run a lot of plays. So they average, almost 400 yards a game, which in that league is good, very good against the type of defenses they see. Got a really dynamic quarterback in Rittenhouse, a couple of excellent wide receivers that can go get it. It's a big offensive line. They run it pretty well. Defensively, they're sound. Not what I would call.
They're giving up some points though too.
They do give up some points, especially in the passing game. So I do think Southeastern's got some opportunities there, but it's a good football team. You don't go into South Dakota and South Dakota State and win. Those are two places that are probably as tough as anywhere in the country to go win. And they've shown the ability to do that. And so it's going to be a good football team, but I also think it's such an opportunity for Southeastern to make some noise on a national level and upgrade the brand. And again, you got to play these type of teams.
And the other thing is it's going to give our league an opportunity where, one of our fears was that they were going to send us right to SFA if SFA wasn't the seed. And then you play each other and you don't have an opportunity. Now you're going to get three Southland teams, and it depends on if Lamar beats Abilene and all that, but you're going to have, we're all playing different teams. Lamar's now going to play Abilene, we're going to play Illinois State, and then who knows what happens with SFA and who they get, whether Abilene wins or Lamar wins. But I think that's a good thing for the league. I think it does say something that we got three teams in. Mm-hmm. I think maybe perception's coming back a little bit to the Southland that some of these teams can compete. And I think it just has worked out that way. And I know the league was very top-heavy this year. It was really top-heavy. You had a couple of good teams there in the middle, and then everybody else was just not very good. And I know a lot of leagues look like that, but it worked out this way for Southeastern and Lamar. And Lamar, that win against South Dakota really got them in. And then SFA was just so good down the stretch that they got that national seed. So I think that's good. When I saw SFA pop up on the screen as the 7 seed, I liked our chances to be at home. Yeah, and it worked out that way. And I thought that the committee handled the Ivies pretty well. I think it's one of those deals where, look, I know we talk a lot about this, about what the Ivies is. Yeah, look, I think it's cool. It's exciting. It's a new league that's going to be playing. It's a lot of schools that are very common names in our country. I mean, some of those famous institutions the country has to offer. But you know what, Mark? They haven't ever done it. They haven't proven whether they should be in top 16 or top 8. Now, if they're undefeated, nothing you can do. You put them there and you see what happens. But when they're kind of backdooring their way in, like Yale has to win late to get in, and then Harvard, they kind of lose there at the last week of the year, send them on the road and see what they're made of. And then maybe that sets the groundwork for what they do in future years.
And I agree. I think the committee, it's refreshing because I think they were able to separate the top of the Southland Conference from the bottom. and able to recognize that hey, there are some good teams. The upper half of the Southland is a good league, and even the middle is very competitive, and they were able to do that. And then the Ivy League, again, I think everybody thought, hey, the Ivy League will gift, and we talked about it last night, that they would be gifted home games because they're the Ivy League. The politics would come into it. Good to see that it didn't. And the other thing with the Ivy League, they only play 10 games. So I think there has to be some penalty for that because the rest of the country is playing 12. They're playing 10, so, and it's kind of just, basically. And
I wonder, Mark, moving forward, if that's something they change.
I don't know. I don't know if it's something.
I know there's a lot of tradition in that league, and, I get that. But if you're going to step into this world now and start playing, hey, do you pick up an extra non-conference game?
Because it's an advantage. Let's face it. You only play 10 games. That's 2 less games you have to get beat up during the regular season. So when you get in a playoff situation where you may have to win 3, 4, 5 games, they're playing 2 less games than everybody else. So again,
and for our example, you look at Harvard and us. They played 10 games. They played all FCS games. We played LSU and Tech.
That's right.
That's 2 opportunities for us to get beat up. Now, obviously, we need the funding. They don't. I mean, we get that. Right. You know what I'm saying? But after saying that, it does have to be a level playing field. So I think the committee handled it right. I think they deserve to have the 2 teams in. I really do. I think when you look at the situation, I think they deserve to have the 2 teams in. But I don't think you just start handing them out home games without letting their league, kind of step to the plate and see what's going on.
Just taking a look real quick at the rest of the bracket. Southeastern, as it plays out, will, the winner of next Saturday's game, that's a noon kickoff in Strawberry Stadium, will travel to North Dakota State. That'll be a noon kickoff in Fargo a week from the fall, December 6th on that Saturday. And of course, the winner of that game will get the winner of UC Davis, Rhode Island, Central Connecticut. So that's how that that part of the bracket's matched up. Montana State, no surprise, got the 2 seed. Montana got the 3. Tarleton got the 4. I know we talked about yesterday, maybe if the 2-point conversion is good, do they get it at top 8 seed? Obviously, the committee felt like they're one of the top 4 teams in the country.
I would agree with that. I think Tarleton's had a really good year, and I think it's one of those situations. Their one loss is Abilene. Abilene just kind of has their number. Yeah. So I think that if Abilene beats Lamar and rolls in there for round 2, that's going to be a good atmosphere in Tarleton. Because I'll tell you, those 2 schools, there's no love lost. They've been going back and forth with each other on social media because they're saying they're co-champs and all that. And then the Abilene people don't like that because they beat them head-to-head. So that ought to be fun. And Mark, let's go back to just a second about the game time.
Yep.
That's one thing I think that is a little different. An early kick, we don't play a lot of early kicks in Strawberry Stadium. Actually, hardly any. Now, if you looked at the look-ahead forecast, I think the high on Saturday is like 65. So it ought to be a really nice day to play during the day. And I do know, I remember a few years ago when they were doing the bracket unveiling and we knew we were in, and they popped up one of the squares and it said like 7 Eastern. And we said, oh, well, this is us. Well, this is us, because we knew that was how it was going to be. But if you look, every first-round game is played at either 12 or 11 this week. And I think what it has to do with is, I know this was a sticking point, and you hear Coach Selfo talk about this all the time, but think about the year Idaho came here. We played them at 6 o'clock, and the game didn't get over till 9:30, 10, and then they had to fly across the country.
That's right. You got to break down film for the next week and all.
I think for student athletes and for competitive advantage, they're trying to keep the games earlier. I do think that's a disadvantage for us.
I agree.
And we'll see, because we just play so much better at night. We're used to playing at night. That's when our crowd is used to being here at night. But I'll challenge anybody watching this. Look, it's always tough to draw that Saturday after Thanksgiving. But, this football team has done a really good job. They fought really hard to get us a home game. We got it. And, you look back at Coach Selfo and his tenure coaching, Mark, and you look at this. It's really impressive that since 2018, Coach Selfo will now have hosted 4 playoff games at Strawberry Stadium. That's a big deal. There's not a lot of teams in the country that can say that.
Well, let's face it. He's put himself in that. He's a Hall of Fame coach at Southeastern. Let's face it. He's
absolutely
put himself in that pantheon with Stan Galloway, and obviously Ron Roberts had 2 playoff appearances, and Billy Brewer back in the 70s. But what Frank Selfo's done here is nothing short of remarkable. And again, it hasn't been. There's been a couple of ups and downs. He's had to be able to not rebuild, but it's he had that first season and he gets the team to the playoffs, keeps ascending. You take a little bit of step back at 23, and here you come again. And he's done it with high school players, local high school players.
I'll tell you, I think it's also refreshing, though, when you hear Coach talk, and he brings up that 23 season a lot. And he'll be the first to tell you, look, we did not handle this right. Because you go back to the 22 year, one of the best years we've ever had here, best teams we've ever had. We lost like 8 starters to the transfer portal. And we weren't ready. The guys behind them weren't ready to go. And he'll just flat out tell you, we messed that up. We weren't ready. But then you look at, you go back to last year. The team did not start out well, Mark. And then we won 6 of our last 7. Okay? We won 6 out of our last 7. So now you look back in our last 18 FCS games, we've won 16 of those games. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like this coaching staff has figured it out. And what they're doing is they're developing a lot of younger players behind the stars. And if somebody goes down or somebody leaves, they're ready to fill that role for the next year. You look last year, Antonio Martin, one of the leadingest rushers in school history.
We don't even miss him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if he played. I mean, I'm just saying, like this has been that good of a year for Southeastern and what they've done running the football as well. So, hey, I think that they've done a really good job, and I think it's very impressive of a coach to be able to say, "Hey, I didn't do this very well, and I'm going to fix it," and he did.
And that's why I brought it up, the 23 season, because let's face it, we know what college coaches go through these days. A lot of them don't survive that. When you have a down cycle.
It's hard to turn it back around.
It's hard to turn it back around, and for them to be able to fix, to be able to right the ship is outstanding. And you're doing, like I said, you're doing it with predominantly local high school kids, filling them with transfer here and there, and plug and play. But again, the offensive line's pretty much all local high school kids. Defensive line, it's all local guys. The secondary, I mean, it's linebackers. It's really unbelievable. Of course. A couple of positions. One, the quarterback position, are a couple of transfers. One of the storylines in this game coming up on Saturday with Illinois State, Carson Camp, hails from Bloomington, Illinois, the hometown of where Illinois State is located, Normal, Illinois, I guess. And that's where he's from. And he's going to play against his brother, who's a redshirt wide receiver, redshirt freshman wide receiver.
Cool story.
You should have the Camp Bowl coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, that's a real cool story. And I love playing these other teams from across the country. And first thing I did today when the pairing came out is pull up their roster, look at their stats, and who's their players. And they have an All-American linebacker, big guy, 6'2", 240, can play in the middle. Wears 41 is his number. Really good player. Good quarterback. Not a real tall guy, like 5'10", but can move around. But Mark, what always jumps out to me is when you play these teams out of the Midwest and the North, when you talk about Big Sky, Missouri Valley, is the height of their offensive line. And that's just something we don't see a whole lot down here. 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", playing on the offensive
played one
line.
in Nichols, though.
We did, 6'10", 6'10", 340.
Yeah.
But my point is, it's just something you don't see all the time. And, these guys, it's just crazy how different parts of the country create different types of people. Down here, we're just full of skill players.
Squatty linemen.
Right. But also, what's funny though is in Louisiana does a good job of developing defensive linemen too. Good athletic defensive linemen, but we don't have those 6'6", 6'7" offensive tackles and bookends. Logan Potter's a big guy, obviously, but I guess it's just unique to see different body types from different parts of the country.
No doubt about it. Tommy Rittenhouse is a quarterback. He's completes about 65%, 2,200 yards on the year, 28 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. He's rushed for another 312 yards. Victor Dawson, Winkers Wright are the 2 running backs. They combined for about 1,200, almost 1,300 yards, and 8 touchdowns, average about 5 yards a carry. Daniel Sobkowitz, you're going to be hearing that number a lot.
I'm glad you got that pronunciation right.
Yeah, that guy, I think I got it right. If I don't, I apologize. But 47 catches, he's got 11 touchdowns. He's the go-to guy in the red zone for sure.
He's their Jalen DiMaggio.
He's their Jalen DiMaggio, no doubt. They spread around to a couple other guys, Dylan Lord and Luke Maylander, I think is probably how you pronounce that. So that's their football team. They do have a lot. They do create a lot of turnovers. They have 13 interceptions. We just played Nichols. I think they had 15 coming in. So we've seen a couple of units the last couple of weeks who are active. It's another defense that'll mix up looks up front, some 3 down, 4 down.
Mark, I'll tell you, a thing that jumps out to me about them as well is they've had the same head coach for 17 years.
Yeah, Brock's back.
He's been there for a long time.
Yeah, very well respected.
He's an old school coach that knows how to win. They're a good program every year. I mean, this was a team that went to the national championship game, like 13. So, Look, they know how to win. It's a good program. And this is a great measuring stick for our program, I think.
Yeah, this is a game you got to embrace. I think if you're the Southeastern fan base, the community, the players, it's going to be tough. We know that, but I think it's a challenge that we'll be up to on Saturday. And again, it's a noon kickoff. It'll be a little bit different. Got to get there early. Breakfast at the Berry. Haven't had a chance to do that in a while, but it's going to be fun. And again, you're back in the playoffs. I mean, 2-year absence. I know what it was like last year when we didn't hear our name called, and the year before when we had no chance of getting our name called coming off a losing season. So anytime, I know yesterday was a lot of fun because I think we knew we were in. You're sitting back watching games. You got Ivy League on one channel. You've got Missouri Valley. You've got games from all over the country you normally wouldn't watch. And I know we have a lot of fun with that every year.
Oh, absolutely. I was dialed in yesterday. Oh, that's one of my most favorite days of the year, especially when we're good because we're done on Thursday. And then we have all day to Saturday to sit down and kind of talk about, okay, what game helps us and have a chance. And look, and when we're watching those games and Monmouth goes down to Albany.
There you go.
Monmouth goes down to Albany and, some other things took place. And then I dialed into that McNeese game and then McNeese comes over to win. I'm like, man, we've had a good day here. I think we can stick into this top 16. And I was right. And it ended up working out good for – it's just so good to be playing at home. That Saturday after Thanksgiving is tough. It's great to be able to, it's just like high school football in Louisiana. It's always great to be playing Thanksgiving week. Same thing in the FCS. If you're playing Thanksgiving week, that means you're having a good year. And we just got to get some people in there. If you're watching this, invite a friend, invite 2, buy them a ticket. Let's get them in that stadium. It'll be a great atmosphere. It's supposed to be a beautiful day. Again, the high's like 65. So it won't be real hot during the middle of the day, and watch 2 good football teams. And look, not a lot of other teams in Louisiana are going to be in the playoffs this year. So come jump on the ship and watch our Lions. And Mark, this is an opportunity for Coach Selfo to win his 10th game for the first time here at Southeastern. 10 wins in the season is very, very impressive at the FCS level.
Yeah, that's hard to do here, because you have to play the FBS game.
That's right.
As we know. So to get to 10 means you got to get in the playoffs. You got to win a game or 2 at least. And the Lions have a chance to do that. Again, another home game, Illinois State coming out of the Missouri Valley. So you get a marquee brand name here at Strawberry Stadium again. And like you said, just a chance to continue to play and have fun with it as a fan base. So got anything else before we sign off?
I don't. Looking really forward to being there Saturday. It's a great week. Hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving. We're thankful for a lot here at Hammond as an opportunity to play football again. As again, only 24 teams in the country are playing this weekend, or are still playing. 16 will be playing this weekend. So we're one of those teams, and there's only 8 playing at home. So there's only 8 FCS games in the nation on a college campus this weekend, and one of them's right here at Hammond. You can't take those type of things for granted. So again, if you're watching this, if you don't live in Hammond and you just follow the Lions, come on, make a trip. Come in on Friday morning and come spend the night and let's have a great day and watch the Lions on Saturday.
It's about as easy as it gets. It's not hard to park. It's not hard to get in and out. It's a great place to watch a game. You can get here early, be out of here before it gets dark, go to dinner downtown Hammond, make a day of it. And, after the Thanksgiving. So that's going to do it. Robbie Mahfouz and I will probably have a chalk talk coming up a little bit later, maybe go in a little bit deeper dive on this one in a day or 2. And maybe Alan jumps on. I don't know. We'll see. But we will sign off for now. Lions are in the playoffs. Illinois State coming to Strawberry Stadium on Saturday, 12 o'clock kickoff. You can catch it on come to the Berry and watch it. Bring your headphones, your iPod, AirPods, or whatever, and listen to us on the network, Southeastern Sports Radio Network, with Robbie Mahfouz, Alan Waddell, and me. And that'll be on Saturday. So we'll sign off for now. We'll see you on Saturday from Strawberry Stadium.